Yeah. It's kind of long, but it's not like just waiting around reading a book until you start.
Right,
you know,
I'm
stuff
sure.
going on, that kind of
You
stuff.
pick a number, like, oh my God, any day now.
Well, as a matter of fact, I had kind of forgotten until it was suddenly next year, and I was like, "What?"
Oh, wow.
Honestly, because it had
Yeah.
been so far in the future that I thought, "All right."
Up until the point you become a priest, what are you?
You're broadly a seminarian or
A
someone trained in the
seminarian?
priesthood. Yeah, a seminarian. I mean, technically I was a scholastic, which is even more
wow.
specific. Yeah.
Aren't all the Jesuits fairly scholastic, though?
Well, that's a good point. I mean, we do a lot of the kind of the thinking in the church. I mean, the church thinks, but a lot of the stuff we do is a lot of academics.
Right.
Yeah, often. Yeah. I don't personally, honestly. I look smarter than I am, but that's
Yeah,
always
I
been
know
kind of
that.
a problem.
Yeah.
Hey,
We may have to
I don't
explain
know.
that to the
I
people
don't
at
need.
home.
I don't need. I don't need. Just raise your hand when you already know what I'm saying, okay? And I can't see you, so go ahead.
Perfect. My hand is up almost all the time, but so just take that as a...
Up. Just assume it's up. I'll let you know when my hand comes down. Okay?
That's right. And then you can speak. So as a seminarian, well, so I just want to say, so you like went the AP Jesuit route. You were like, I'm taking the advanced, you are scholars, but I'm a scholastic seminarian, so bitches, step back. I mean it.
I mean it.
These are advanced study courses in thinking.
Well, and I went into the Jesuits not because, I mean, some people go into it because they want to study and teach like philosophy, or they want to be a theology, scholar or whatever. I went in because we do a lot of things, become a priest and do your day job, or, you integrate
Right.
them. So people join because they're in astronomy, or they are in the hard sciences, or they're doing something else. Well, I joined because I wanted to be a theater artist and do that in the church. And they said, yeah, that sounds good, fine. And it's not quite that clear cut. I've been on a lot of other things other than the arts. But.
So because you were going into the theater, is that why you took the scholastic route, so you could sort of beef it up and like show people you weren't just taking the easy route?
No, but it's a good point.
Thank you.
It was more because I didn't want to be a parish priest, which is like just have a parish, not just, but have a parish,
Right.
and say mass and do the kind of in the trenches work. But I wanted to do the larger pieces of the church. So,
Do you?
and all that's not really actually happened over the 25 years. A whole bunch of other things have happened, as life will,
Right. Do you give sermons?
I do.
Yeah.
It's
How often?
totally the best part of my job. I love it so much.
Yeah.
And I'm so lucky to have been trained as a theater worker and a performer. It's just fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, the guys that I'm with who are from other disciplines, some of them are good, but most of them have no idea exactly what the dynamic is that they're working in.
Yeah, of course. It's not something you're born into. It's not a skill. I mean, some people do, but I think you have to understand an audience and understand your place in front of that audience and how to take command in a way.
That is exactly it.
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
And not everyone can do that. Not everyone has the self-possession to say, you should be listening to me, and not in a selfless way, but that just takes a certain amount of self-possession.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I've actually worked with guys as they are learning how to do this thing, and trying to really point out, and I've even said this in sermons about, you're the only one that has lights on you. You're the one in the big costume. You're the one with the mic. What are you going to walk away from that, or step away from it, or pretend it's not there?
Right.
Because often people pretend like, oh no, we're all the same.
Right.
Well, then why are you in that outfit?
Right.
Why did you study for 10 years? Why?
Right.
Well, you need to own it. Move
Right,
forward.
exactly.
It's like that with actors too.
Sure. And it's like if you go to a doctor's office, you don't expect the doctor to act like the doctor is you. Like, the doctor's the doctor. I want the doctor to act like a doctor and tell me doctorly things and act as though they know what they're doing, They don't have to step down to my level. They're the doctor. That's okay.
Correct. And they don't, and hopefully they won't treat you badly, but that's not what you're asking them to do.
Right, of course
You're
not.
not asking them to step all over you.
No.
So, yeah, there's
Be the
there's a lot of
authority,
that.
that's all, and be open.
Yeah.
And so in that case, being the priest, you're just saying, there was something that I said, I had written, I think one of Keefe things that he wrote, where it was like, it's okay to be a leader if you understand that it's just your turn to lead and not your right to be a leader. You know, that like we all have our moment when we step forward and say, okay, I got this, I'm an expert in this or whatever, I'll guide the ship through this little canal, but then I'm not the captain of the world, like I don't know everything, like I'll step back, right? Like,
Yeah.
and having the grace to do that. And then in your appropriate position, you know, as a priest, like that's your job. That's your job every Sunday or whatever it is.
Yeah, I think that's right on. And to accept that in this generation or at this moment, this is how you can be part of it or contribute to it or whatever you want to frame it.
That's right.
That it's your turn. That's exactly right.
That's right. And I think everybody, in whatever capacity they're living their lives right now, I mean, some people are more fortunate than others, and I think those people are the ones who really need to step up and take advantage of whatever fortune they have to help in a more maybe forward way. But, you know, everybody has a gift, several sometimes, and it's like, okay, figure out what that is if you haven't already, and that's okay. None of us is going to fix this all themselves.
No.
You know what I mean? There's no way.
Everybody's got a piece of that.
Right.
And, you know, I grew up with a father who, you know, he had 7 kids. He had a daughter and then 6 boys. Yeah. And we're all large and talented. And talented.
Sure. Well, okay, you know.
But those are the facts.
I haven't seen the rest of the family. Maybe they're...
some of them carry, you know, the rest of us.
It's on a bell curve. We're all pretty talented.
But my father was never able to actually just, you know, live into being like paterfamilias or the dad or the father. You know? He was always kind of begrudging and, you know, getting the anger or the responsibility, like the dour responsibility. But like, are you enjoying this role? Are you actually, you know,
I think there's a lot of that in dads. I mean, that's just the way that it's sort of structured. And some dads are lucky enough, some people who become fathers are lucky enough to walk into that role with a sense of themselves and some understanding of what is going to be happening, or they're just lucky when they get into it to go like, oh, this is what this is and I can figure it out. But when people step into it and they don't know themselves well enough and they feel subscribed to the particular role, and the same thing with wives too. I mean, especially less so as we go forward, but in the past, that's why so many women, I think of my mother's age and probably of your mother's age, I think suffer mental issues as they get older, right? Or even as they were raising their children, because it's like, this is what you do. My mother moved from Ottawa, which is where she was born and raised, so Quebecois, French Canadian, picked up, moved to a small town in the middle of Ontario where no one spoke French. My dad, he was a great man, he is a great man, but he worked away from home a lot, so he would leave to go work, and she was there with the two of us in this small town in Ontario with no friends.
Yeah.
What did she give up? I mean, you know, I can't answer those questions for her, but I understand, like, the difficulty of that, you know, and how much that is to ask of somebody, like, you know, and this is what you do. And she was an outspoken woman, and not everybody appreciated it. And that's where I get it, you know. She spoke her mind, and not everybody was super cool with it.
Yeah. Have you always been, as you describe yourself, loudmouthed and getting into trouble, or just
not getting into trouble.
Opinionated, or
no, not getting into trouble. I think that's sort of a late stage for me. I was growing up. I was a good. I know, right?
When did that start? Are you in the middle of that, or at the end of it? Or?
I don't know. Who knows, right? Tell me. But I can say it started. Well, I can tell you when it started. I think I've always, and you know me well enough to know, when we were doing a show together back in '92, I have a bit of a bad boy streak. It's not that exactly, like puckish, I think. I like to, like, my humor is based in sort of like pricking at things a little bit, right? Like, you know what I mean. And so that's always been a part of who I am, but I've always been a good boy. You know, growing up, I always did the right thing. And never got in trouble when I was in school, except one time when I brought in a dirty book and someone else, the principal caught somebody else with it. But that was it.
What book was it?
Oh, God. I don't remember.
Was it Thornbirds? Luke the
No, it was worse than that. It was like Jackie Collins, but like Harold Robbins kind of stuff. But it wasn't either one of those. It was, I think it was called The Oscar. It was some story about like the, you know what I mean, stars trying to get the Oscar. And there were some really dirty, dirty parts in it. But also a story, right? So you could hang that on there and sell it in the grocery store. And so I brought that book to school, and I would read to people I guess this has been in me for a long time. I would read to people at recess from that book. nasty things, right? And I would just read to them. They weren't like, I don't know why it was fun. Like they weren't doing anything illicit. They were just hearing me read dirty stories and laughing.
Well, that kind of set the your career path, didn't it?
I guess so, yeah. Yeah, I guess so. I guess in that way I have, but I never got in trouble. And so only recently, after I went through a period of depression where I was like suicidally depressed for 3-4 years.
When was that?
Starting at 90, oh God, I'd have to look back. It's like 4 or 5 years ago I came out of it. So about 7 years ago, maybe. And we can talk about that at another time. But coming out of that, when I came out of it with this feeling, and I was 46, 47. And I thought, I'm going to be, as I was getting better, I'm going to be as eccentric as I want to be. Because I just beat death, and I don't care. And I've always been like a fan of John Waters and, that kind of aesthetic, but never like owned it, or I didn't feel like I owned it. And as I'm getting older, I see the power of that aesthetic. And I'm like, so being the bad boy and being the rebel at this point, especially right now,